From Alexis, Melinda's Art Space, just showing you the front of my journal. This is my handmade journal, inspired by Dina Wakely's mixed media journal with burlap and craft, and I threw a whole lot of other crap in mine. I've got watercolour paper in there, I've got burlap, I've got brown paper, I've got fabric, you name it, it's in there, and even some plastic Ada cloth cereal boxes, lots of stuff I gathered. So this is Mission Inspiration March. Yeah, I know you might be seeing this in May. Shh, don't tell anyone I'm behind. I'm determined to catch up. While I'm ripping up some cardboard there, I will just let you know Mission Inspiration is an 8 ingredients you use on your page. You can use them in any order, so the rules have changed. You get 3 suggested colours that you can use or can't use. You get 5 suggested words, so I'll go through those eventually. So I did follow these in order. But sometimes you can do them out of order as well. So add natural fibre, string, jute or burlap. Now I made this album about 2 years ago, and I did one page and it sat on my shelf. And I was a bit scared to use it because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I decided, right, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to pick up this album and I'm going to use the burlap page. Now this burlap page, I don't know where I got this burlap from, but it's got these big beautiful dots on it. And this particular page I didn't want to cover up the dots that much. I cover up mostly the dots. Obviously looking at something on my phone or a buzzed or something. So the second one was use fragments of food packaging or labelling. So I decided to grab, as you saw, the taco kit box from Aldi. It has a gorgeous texture on the inside. It has like brown crafty colour. So I decided to tear 4 random shapes and stick them to my page. I'm using the Craft Spot glue there from the reject shop. Because I'm sticking heavy cardboard to burlap, I do need a heavy glue. So I whack a fair bit of that glue on to stick the 4 panels down. Didn't know what I was doing with this page. I just decided to sit down and start glue and stuff the stuff. And I really like the end result. It's very different to what I usually do, but I'm trying to branch out this year and do different stuff, and I will do a layout on the back of this burlap one day. May take me another 2 years before I get the courage. We'll see. So next one was add texture paste with paint. Add texture with paint or paint through a stencil. So I decided to grab this small grading dot stencil that I have, well, when my store is back up and running, should be very soon, or by the time this video up, it's probably up and running. So my link to my website is below. So I do produce chipboard and stencils as part of my business, and hoping to do a bit more this year. Life just gets in the way lately. So just using some, oh, excuse my head, couldn't see what I was doing. So using some Deco Art texture paste that I'm trying to use up in that little jar. Got that in a class kit a couple of years ago. You'll hear me say I'm trying to use up a lot of stuff. My mantra this year is to use more than I buy. So I've got a lot of part use things I do want to use up, because unfortunately when you get down to about a quarter of a jar with the texture paste, it tends to dry out, so it's not a good look to have. So the next one is stamp with white ink or paint. Okay, I'll do that in a minute. So I decided that my texture paste needed some colour, because I didn't really want to leave them. I liked the crafty colour of the background, but I didn't like the white. So I decided to grab 4 colours that bring the colours from the background. So sort of the aquary blue, the sort of the yellowy gold, the purple and the reddy pink. So I just grabbed some random paints from my stash. That one is a Delusions one, the reddy pink one. I like the Delusions paints, they're beautiful paints, but unfortunately I find the pots dry out. With the tubes of paint, you can squeeze them so you can squeeze most of the air out. And I have discussed this in a different video as well. You can squeeze most of the air out and they don't go hard, but unfortunately Delusions pots, you can't do that. I like them so you can just take paint out of the pots. That's one of the advantages, but it does have the disadvantage, it does dry out if you don't use them a lot, which mine have sat there for probably 12 months now, because I often go through fads of what I'm using. And there is my chicken scratch of my Mission Inspiration to go. So just put a thin layer of the colour over the texture paste and on the cardboard, and I deliberately didn't do it right to the edge because I really liked the torn edge and thought that acted as an awesome border. So now my next one was stamp with white ink or paint. So I decided to grab this honeycomb stamp and use some white Audi gesso that I picked up last year when they had their paints. Awesome Audi gesso, really good quality for a really cheap price. That little pot was like $3. So if you do see them at Audi, they are well worth grabbing and using because it is a good product for a good price. Not sponsored at all, just telling you what I'm using. So I decided to stamp on my little squares as well as stamp a little bit in the background to sort of marry up the burlap to the 4 sort of focal images I've got. Right. Next step was add die cut or 2 or 3. Okay, so this is how disorganized my die cut box is. Those white things underneath are magnet sheets, and they're all supposed to be displayed on the magnet sheet all nice, and throwing them in the box like this is not ideal, but that's me. I can't be bothered putting them back on the magnet sheets every time I use them, so I just throw them in the box. So just grabbing out ones that will sort of fit in the box. So I've got the tree and the little girl reading and the little boy reading, the branch with the birds, and I go with the butterfly as well. So I do fool around with the feather, but I don't end up going with the feather. I end up going with the butterfly. So a lot of these dies have been purchased overseas. The pink ones I got in a class kit. That butterfly I think I got free on a magazine. So my dies come from several different places. So now I grab some black paper. These are the offcuts from packaging from work. I wanted the die cuts to really stand out against the colourful background. So I decided to go with black, and they're like a silhouette. That was my idea behind it anyway. So this is a bit thicker than regular photocopy paper, but it's not as thick as cardstock. So it was a good weight to stick on. So I end up cutting out the tree, the little girl, little boy, a couple of birds and a branch, and I go and cut out 3 butterflies. I do like that butterfly die, but oh god, it's a pain to get the butterfly out. I must use some wax paper or something next time I die cut with it, but I always forget. My Cuttlebug is very old as well. It creaks and moans and groans when I use it. It's probably, I had it before Alexis was born. She's 11 and a half, so add a little bit more time to that. 12 and a half, 13, possibly 14 years old and still going strong. Could be possibly 14 years old. That's terrible. Well, actually, it's probably good, but yeah, a lot of my stuff is old. But why update to a new one? I would love a big shot, but I've got a magnetic platform for this one from Spotlight, and it fit, which was awesome. So why update to a new one? I like the magnetic platform because my little dies don't move around. Okay, so that was out of die cut 2 or 3. So just going to glue those down with just fussy with those butterflies. I had a few die cut pieces that didn't cut all the way through and I had to pull them out. And I was being naughty and just flicking them everywhere, not really putting them in the bin. You should see my floor under my desk when I craft. It looks like a rubbish tip. Sometimes I have a rubbish box on my table. A lot of times when I'm die cutting I don't, and I'm not sure why I'm getting black flecks between my videos. So sticking the die cuts down with Mod Podge. So the Mod Podge does dry clear. This is supposed to be the matte version of it. It has a bit of a shine to it, but it's not as glossy as others. Okay, no, I decided to stick some. Have I got these out of order? Wouldn't be surprising me. So I'm sticking some washi tape down, which is the next step. Add border with book text or washi tape. Didn't really want to add a border, so I sort of bordered each individual box, or stuck a little bit in. The great thing about Mission Inspiration is you can take the prompts and interpret them any way your little heart desires. So for example, it said border. I sort of did a strip down the bottom, which is sort of like a border, and that blue one I do sort of a border on 2 sides, sort of like a border. We're calling it a border and we're sticking with it. What am I doing? I'm thinking. Oh, I'm trying to match up the washi tapes. I chose 4 washi tapes in the same colours, so I chose like a purple, I chose a blue, I chose a Kangaroo one and a pink one. And I chose one that had sort of the yellow, the blue and the red in it. So trying to work out which ones go where took me a few seconds. I do procrastinate a lot when I when I put my art journal pages together, and sometimes I'll procrastinate longer than I should, which is terrible. So always when I use washi tape, I do like to put matte Mod Podge or gel medium or some sort of adhesive underneath it, because it will lift up, especially when you're putting it over Mod Podge or over paint. Or I've also got texture paste as well, so it's not going on like a flat surface, so it tends to peel up, so I glue it down. I go through jars and jars of this Mod Podge. I am absolutely dreadful. And plus Alexis art journals with me too, so I probably use too much, but that's okay. We get there eventually. So just adding a little bit of that red washi, and the washies are from everywhere. There's a few there from really old ones from Spotlight. I don't know where that coloured circle one that went in the blue square come from. Don't know where the dot one come from either. No idea. I have quite a few washi tapes to use up. I went through a stage where I was selling in my business, and Alexis would get a shipment through and would sort of get a random assortment from overseas and then sort them out, and she would like to keep one of each roll, and so would Mummy, so we ended up with quite a few rolls of washi tape. So what I'm trying to do with my collection at the moment, I don't really have an art space. I have my filming in the lounge room, and that's our dining room table slash school table slash homework table slash mixed media art table. It's just the only table we've got in the house at the moment. So I don't actually have a dedicated space to set a little studio up. I'm hoping one day that'll be right, so I can have all my supplies at my fingertips. Because at the moment a lot of it's packed up in boxes, and I have no idea what's in the boxes because I haven't used them or haven't opened them for a couple of years, and I tend to only art journal with what I can grab and what I can see. So that's unfortunately how I craft at the moment. If it's within arm's reach or I can see it, I use it. I don't really go digging for stuff. I'm terrible. I probably don't need to buy supplies for quite a few years. But what's the fun in that? So just Mod Podging down my die cuts, using quite a lot of the Mod Podge because they were quite fine, and again they were going over paint and over texture paste, so I wanted them to stick down quite well. So when I've decided that I'm finished, pop the washi tapes away, I decide what am I going to do with that top square. So another one of the steps was add gesso mixed with colour, and that's when I added the coloured paint. So I did a couple of these out of order. Now you can do them in any order you like, and add handwritten text, quote or phrase. So I decided just write the word happy. I only had a small spot, and I'm using my black fine liner black paint in my fine liner bottle to write out my title. And I'm having trouble talking once again. The words just don't want to come out today. So I've taken several close-up photos at the end so you can really get an idea of the texture. I know having the camera zoomed out this much, it's hard to see detail, or is it just me? So here are some close-up shots, and I get some really close-up shots which are really cool to show you the texture as well. Thanks for watching. If you do like my art journaling pages, give us a comment, a like, and subscribe to my channel. We're coming up towards 1,000, and we're going to do something quite special. Not quite sure what, but you want to stick around and find out because you don't want to miss out. Thanks for watching. I'll catch up with you again soon. Bye for now.